Political speeches in the history of the community. To the point. Well done. Well done. So, okay. Well, that brings us to our next speaker, and he is vying to represent us here in Bakersfield and up into Tulare County as well, the 20th district. So let's give a warm welcome to David Giglio, running for the 20th.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. I've been looking forward to this since I was invited. This is an exciting time. It's been a little crazy week. As you all imagine, you've been paying attention. A lot of stuff is going on. You know, I don't like to script speeches, so I just kind of have a little rundown. I want to go for it. First off, you're probably asking who the heck is this guy? That's a fair question, I would say, because my wife doesn't like what I say, but I consider myself just an ordinary person. You know, my political journey in politics began 3 years ago in 2020, after the 2020 election. I'm sure, just like most of you in this room, you're pretty upset with everything that went on. So, and during COVID, so that also had a big impact on me. And after the election, and with the ensuing craziness that went down, I sat there and I said, you know, I kind of knew what to expect from the left. You know, they played these games, and when everything was going with COVID, I think I kind of knew when the absentee ballots started going out that there was going to be some funny business. But my biggest anger was more towards Republicans, because we're counting on the Republican Party to be our last line of defense. You know, they promise us the world. They tell us they're going to go to Washington. They're going to do these things for us. And far too many of them don't actually ever intend to do that. And I said, you know, that's unfortunate. Because we need them. And if we're going to save this nation, I think we can all agree that right now we need people to save this nation. We're going, you know, some days it's like I wake up and it's the twilight zone. So I said, we need people to step up. I was a high school history teacher. That's also another reason I decided to get involved. You know, we are failing kids in the classroom. And I said, we're losing generations of America's children because we're not giving them an adequate education. We're teaching them that America isn't great, that it's not something to be proud of, and we're not preparing them for life after the classroom. And that's what's causing all of this chaos in the country. And so I said, we need people that just wanted good people. And I sat in a lot of meetings where Republicans, they said, we want good people to run. And so I said, you know, I want to be one of those people. And even more personally, during COVID, I'll tell you, I was not born here, because they're going to tell you that's their favorite thing. I was not born in California, but my uncle, great man, you know, I grew up next door to my cousins, my aunt and uncle, so it's like a second family. Well, he was a retired gentleman. He had a heart attack mowing an old lady's lawn. He used to do that for free to help out people. They found him on the lawn. He passed away. And, you know, I flew back home, and they told us, hey, you can't have a funeral. You know, you can't really have a wake. There were like 5 of us in the room. They were very like pushy about who can say what and do this kind of thing. And it was something I was like, this is wrong. You know, I turned on the TV, and at the time, we know what kind of was going on in the country. There were riots all over the place. And people were being told, well, that's okay. You know, these people are expressing their things. And I'm like, so 10,000 people can go out in the street and, for whatever reason, burn down cities and do all this stuff. That's okay. But this is a guy who, retired man, like a father to me. Everybody loved him. Tons of people would have come to his funeral. And we were told, hey, no, you can't honor him that way. And it still affects my aunt, and it still, you know, chokes me up. And I said, nobody should have to go through that. And that wasn't a story that was just unique to me. I mean, this happened to a lot of people. But there's a lot of people that are going to live with that burden of not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones in the proper way. And I said, that kind of thing should never happen. And, you know, then after the election, like I said, you know, quite frankly, I do believe there was funny business in the election. I said, if we allow the Democrats, every time you give the left an inch, they take a mile. And Republicans are always the ones that have to compromise. And we're always being told our deals are good. We got something in this deal, you know. Speaker McCarthy, we got something in the debt ceiling deal. We didn't get anything in that deal. We got our butt kicked. There's an uncapped debt ceiling now for 2 years. And now is the time to play ball. And so I said, we need good people involved. So that forced me to run. Well, it didn't force me, I decided to. I stood up and ran in what was at the time the 16th Congressional District. I do live in Madera. My business is in Clovis. I live right on the border of Madera, Fresno. I call it the nexus of the universe because they really carved up this Central Valley when they redistricted the state of California, which is so unfortunate because it's such an important part of the state. It's already not being represented in Sacramento. They're being overwhelmed by the coast, LA, San Francisco, and then they carved up, I mean, Fresno is the 5th biggest city in the state, and they split it with 4 different congressional districts, which is insane. And my house is actually, I can go a mile either in 3 different directions, I'll be in 3 different congressional districts. But I ran in the 13th Congressional District the last time as a virtual nobody. I'll be honest about that. I was just a guy who said, you know, at the time it was the 16th, Jim Costa was the incumbent. I'm sure you guys have all heard that name before. I looked at Jim's career and I said, this is the kind of the guy that's got everything wrong with politics. And I said, I didn't believe, it was a blue district on paper, it was a D plus 20. And I said, I don't believe it's really that blue. Because I said, I see these people, I talk to these people. There's a lot of untapped people that would vote Republican if we go out and we reach these people. So I decided to run, spent about a year and a half grinding, right from the get-go. People said, well, you're not born here, you can't win, you shouldn't be running. You're nobody, you'll never get anywhere, you'll never make it to the primary. We ended up being endorsed by over 100, I was lucky enough, blessed enough to be endorsed by over 150 different people, groups, and that is something that I feel like I've earned, and I'll always be proud of that. And when they redistricted, Jim cut and ran to an even bluer district, and it became an open seat, CA 13. I had been running in for most of 2 years. I said, I'm going to run there. And we put up a good fight. We raised a lot of money at the time for somebody who'd never been in politics, about $800,000, which they never thought I could do. It was the most for a Republican in that district in a while, and like I said, we had a lot of support. I still get texts from people that want me to run against who the eventual winner of that district was, which was John Duarte, ended up being my opponent. We had a lot of work. I shared a lot of intel and stuff with the Republican Party, and it just didn't go away. Kevin decided that he really didn't care what the opinion of the local communities were and who they were endorsing, and he threw his guy in there. And, I got kicked in the teeth. I'll be honest, it was hard. I spent probably days worth of hours at events, knocking on doors in that district that no Republican had ever gone to. Because I really, truly believe in bringing people into the Republican Party. And I am a Trump America First Republican because I believe there's nothing extreme about it. It's actually a much more big tent platform. It brings people into the Republican Party that never voted Republican before. That's what makes President Trump so special. That is why even today when you see polls come out, President Trump is outrunning Republicans, generic Republicans, and even incumbent Republicans, because he's giving them a message. He's giving people something to vote for that they've never seen before. And quite frankly, a lot of our leaders, for stubbornness and where they're getting their money, they don't want to embrace that. They want to fight it. And I said, this is crazy. I told them, I had to beg those people, I said, this is not a blue district. We have Republican votes. So I shared with them all my data, and I got kicked in the pants, and I said, do I really want to do this again? Because I'm not going to lie, it was a deflating feeling, because I feel that I am a good person, and I sat there at those meetings where they said, we want good people to run, and I said, well, I did that, and you guys kicked me in the face. And, Kevin wouldn't even give me a 5-minute meeting. We gave them all our data. We met with the NRCC, and I couldn't get 5 minutes. Shannon Grove had even endorsed me and advocated on me, and I couldn't get him to sit with me. And I felt we were doing something really special. And we did, because I still have people in that district that talk to me. So why did I choose to run not in the 13th district again? Because I did give a lot of thought to challenging John, because I quite frankly think John has been one of the worst freshman members of Congress there is. There's not much difference between him and Adam Gray, who was his Democratic opponent, which I said at the time. I chose to run on the 20th. At the time, I'm the only one here in this race now that stood up and decided to challenge Kevin McCarthy. And I did that because to me, I know there are some Kevin fans in this room, but to me, Kevin represents kind of what I consider everything wrong with politics. He's a good politician, he talks a good game, he promises good things, but at the end of the day, he doesn't deliver on any of that. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's taking money from, he'll say and do anything to get money from somebody, to get power. His whole life was to get that gavel, and it got taken from him, and that's why he ran. Quite frankly, he showed you what he thought about the Central Valley. He didn't even want to finish out his term, because all he cared about was having that gavel. And I said, this is politicians on both sides of the aisle. It's not something that's unique to Kevin McCarthy. It's not something that's unique to Democrats, Republicans. We have a lot of people in Washington, this ruling class, that make promises to the American people and don't do anything. And I said, you know what? I got kicked in the pants by Kevin and the establishment the last time, but I want to show them and put them on notice that there are people willing to stand up to the biggest dog in the fight. And Kevin was the biggest dog in the fight. And I said, I want to go against Kevin because I want them to know back in Washington that we've had enough. Because I knocked on thousands of doors myself last time I ran. And the common theme from people was that they're tired, man. They're just so, people have lost faith in the government, they've lost faith in our leaders and our politicians, on both sides they are, because they're like, I can't tell you how many people told me, it doesn't matter who we vote for, Democrat or Republican, nothing's going to change. And you know, when I was taking time to decide what to do, I kept going back to thinking of those doors I knocked on and some of those people, and I said, man, I owe it to these people to show them that there are people out there that want to fight. And so, this seat, you know, Kevin, this is a chance for the Central Valley to change course. Kevin McCarthy has dictated California Republican politics now for decades. I mean, you know, we had our biggest Republican delegation in Congress from California in decades, and they didn't even make water a top priority. And I said, this is our chance. We can't let, this is a deep red seat. I don't know if people know the voter registration here, but this is an R+20 seat. One of the unfortunate things about the Republican Party is that we have a lot of rhinos elected from deep red seats. A lot of people that oppose President Trump from deep red seats. Democrats would never do that. Their most radical members are from their deep blue seats. I'm not going to be a radical, but we need to elect somebody who's a true America's first fighter, because I believe President Trump is going to win next year. Yeah. I think that's why they're so scared. And if you recall, when President Trump won in 2016, we had control of the House and the Senate, and it wasn't Democrats who stopped President Trump from doing things. It was the Republican Party. It's because they don't have the courage to follow through on the things that are going to happen to them, because they're scared that somebody's going to write a mean news article about them, that, you know, somebody on CNN is going to make fun of them or talk bad about them, and you know, that's unacceptable. And quite frankly, a lot of them are taking money from both sides of the aisle. And one of the things I learned is there's a lot of money being made on the status quo. Okay, Congress thrives on the status quo. They don't want to solve issues because they want to campaign off them. They want to take your money, so they want to keep making money off of it. And I'm going to give you a brief story of something I learned. You know, Johnny Teixeira, I don't know if anyone knows that name, but he ran against Jim Costa, it was 2018, or 2016. Grassroots guy, dairyman, worked his butt off, got no support from any of the elected Republicans, ended up beating Jim Costa on election night by about 3,000 votes. He went to D.C., he got sworn in, he was voting on the floor. And at the time, Paul Ryan was the speaker, and Kevin was, I believe Kevin was at the time, he was either the minority leader or he was the whip. And they went up to Johnny and they said to him, they said, Johnny, you know, we love what you're talking about with water. We love it. But, you know, we don't actually want to solve that issue because we got a campaign off that issue. And Johnny kind of said to them, well, that's not why I came here. And, you know, they found 3,000 votes for Jim Costa, and Johnny got sent home. So these are the things I found out, and it's tough. I got kicked in the teeth. They called people, you know, they had a lot more money. Kevin dumped about $1 million in. They called people, told them I was a liberal carpetbagger from Connecticut, and, you know, all those kind of things. Meanwhile, they were using my campaign, my slogans and everything. It was frustrating because we gave them all that info. So what do I offer people? Why do I think you should support me? There are a lot of people in this race now. Vince Fong is Kevin's pick. But Kevin also has his backup plan because, as we know, Vince should not be in this race. The current county recorder, despite what you think, the law is the law. We as Republicans have spent 3 years criticizing Democrats in swing states for not abiding by election law. And here you have Kevin McCarthy, the former most powerful Republican in Washington, advocating for someone to break election law because, quite frankly, he doesn't want me elected. Kevin does not want me elected because I am an actual Trump supporter. Kevin is a public Trump supporter, but behind the scenes, Kevin is not. Kevin spent millions in the primaries to get rid of Trump-supporting candidates, and he spent money against me, and he's been having fundraisers for the last 2 years for Ron DeSantis in this very district with his donors. And so he does not want me in there. And, you know, so he has Vince go in. I think everybody expected Shannon. I'm still surprised at her decision. Like I said, Shannon endorsed me last time. Shannon is a good woman. I still would have run because I think it would have just represented more of the same. You know, all these donors, I am the only one in this race who doesn't owe anybody anything. These people, they will not take my cause. They hang up the phone when I call them. They say, go away. They don't want me there. And it's unfortunate because I just want to help them. You know, I'm sitting here like, I am the only one in decades that has a real water plan. I have a comprehensive water plan that's not just a short-term fix. It's a long-term solution. It's on my website, davidagiglio.com/water. And I'm trying to help you, and here you are fighting me so hard. And you know, it's a lot on me. It's a lot on my family. You know, my wife, we went through it all the last time. And so I offer you a chance at real change. You know, everybody's going to say they're going to go there and do something, but everybody in this race is going to be controlled by the same donors. Kevin's got Vince. If Vince gets thrown off the ballot, the backup plan is Sheriff Bordeaux. He's waiting in the wings, just waiting to see what the Secretary of State does. If Vince gets thrown out, Kevin's endorsement is going to go right there. They're going to flood him with the money. And the other people that got in this race, quite frankly, some of them are in it just, you know, they put their name on the ballot, they have the money to put their name on the ballot. They're all, you know, Fresno casino owners, you know, people that are in with this crowd of people that have controlled everything for decades. I don't owe any of those people anything. So when I tell you I'm going to go there and fight for water, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to kick and scream and get it done. And I actually look at the fact that I wasn't born here as a plus, because before I got out here, I actually never had any idea how important the Central Valley was in terms of agriculture. And I said, there are people around the country that don't realize it. Every elected person from the Valley should be talking about this on national TV so the people around the country know that this is just as much a national security issue as petroleum. Okay? Because this is your food supply. You do not want to become dependent on other countries for your food supply. And if the American people knew that and understood that, they would say, this isn't a California water crisis. This isn't just a Western states water crisis. It's a national water crisis. And when President Trump was president, he actually was working to solve this. You know, he was making things. They were going to raise some dams. They were going to try and build some new storage. Unfortunately, we all know what happened. The cock ran out, and he was actually here a couple months ago, and he was telling people, you know, man, you know, I really wish we could have gotten that water stuff done. And so I know it's an issue that he's passionate about. And so I'm going to go to him with my plan, because it's a complex plan. It goes all the way back to the 20s, where they basically created a water commission. It's a very detailed plan, but it needs support from the top, and it needs to be able to force someone like Gavin Newsom's hand to get things done. You know, I do believe it's a pivotal point in history. We have to show the American people that our government is going to work for us. When I say America first, I mean spending money wisely, not lavishly. You can cut spending, but spend it on programs that matter, that directly benefit the American people. I quite frankly think, I am 35 years old. My wife and I, we just bought our house a few years ago. Home ownership in this country, it's a crisis. People can't even buy a home. You know, 95% of the counties in this country, people can't afford to buy a home. They're having to rent. And this is an issue that, why are people in Congress talking about that? Instead, they're focusing on, you know, when Speaker McCarthy got his gavel taken away, and he was, you know, crying over it. You know, the only thing that Congress was worried about, what were they worried about? Were they worried about getting back so they could deal with inflation, so they could deal with the homeowner crisis? No, they were worried because they wanted to send more money your way to foreign countries. We have to invest in our country, in infrastructure, things that matter. We have to reform our government. I fully believe in term limits. I want to bring accountability back to government. I want to ban members of that's another, I was in a room where Kevin McCarthy promised he was going to bring a vote for a stock trading ban. Okay? He never brought that vote. I don't know if you know, remember before the midterms, Nancy Pelosi actually said she was going to bring one to the floor too. They said, oh, Congress is going to vote on this, and then it went away and it never came up. I want that ban. No member of Congress or their family should be trading stocks. It's not a thing to get rich. It's public service. Okay? I want to eliminate all PACs because, quite frankly, you can win an election without getting any money from your district. That's why you have so many people elected in Washington that don't vote in accordance with the will of their voters, but they keep getting reelected because they're getting checks from Washington, from all these big things. We have to eliminate PACs. We have to make sure candidates have to spend time in their district talking to the people that matter. And if we don't do this, you know, everybody says it's the most consequential election in history. I truly do believe this, because we're going towards a path where the left really wants power, and the right doesn't really want to be serious about stopping them. You know, far too many Republicans want to fundraise and send out text messages. By the way, if I send you one, don't kill me. I hate getting them too. I unsubscribe all the time, but I get them. But quite frankly, I do need some money to win. But they want to fundraise on the issue, but they don't actually want to do it. They want to get on TV, they want to have a good time, they want to create high profiles, they don't want to solve it. If you solved the crises, you wouldn't have to worry about getting reelected because you'd be a hero to your constituents. They'd vote for you. Stop lying to them. That's why you have to worry about getting elected. So I offer a change here. And the state of this race is fascinating. You know, Kevin's going to pump a lot of money. Kevin has about, I think, estimate 17 to 20 million in his PACs and all that stuff. And he's got money everywhere. I mean, there's been estimates. I've talked to people that people don't even know how much Kevin has in war chest money. So Kevin's going to flood his people. They're going to run ads against me. I can't compete with them dollar for dollar. But I don't feel I have to do it. What we need to do is we have to raise enough money so people know my message and get it out there, and we will win. Because even when I was running against Kevin, I said, I don't care if Kevin has $20 million. What's Kevin going to promise to people with his $20 million? Any promise he makes to them, he's already had decades of failing to deliver on it. So he can spend all this money he wants against me, but if I can just raise enough so people know who I am and have a real choice on the ballot, I think we'll win, and I think we'll shock a lot of people. But I feel that I'm the only one who gives you guys that option. You know, I have this flyer here, and I put a lot of this stuff. I'll openly talk about election integrity. A lot of Republicans never want to talk about the issue. Kevin himself never wants to talk about the issue. And that's something we have to do. It's bipartisan. 90% of voters in this country want voter ID. That's not 90% of Republicans. That's Democrats, Independents. Everyone wants it. If you don't have secure elections, people deserve to have faith in their government and the elections. If you don't have faith, you lose faith in it. And everybody, talks about Rome and all this stuff, Roman Empire things. I say this is more of the Roman Republic. I was a teacher, so I'm going to throw this in there. Because I got lucky to teach about Rome and I loved it. But this is more of a Roman Republic thing. Why did the Roman Republic fail? Because you had a group of senators, these elites, who were not interested in doing what was as time went on, they didn't care about the common people. They were interested in themselves and their friends. And so people lost faith in their republic. And then you had a guy like Julius Caesar, and they said, this guy, he was a hero among his troops. He gave them, he paid them. He did things for them. They said, this is the kind of leadership we need. We cannot lose our republic because this is the greatest nation in the world. We should be proud of it. But right now, unfortunately, there's a lot going on. And I believe that these America First policies that President Trump has brought is the only future for the Republican Party. Unless we embrace it, we are going to continue to lose because we need to appeal to voters. We can bring in so many more people to our side. There's nothing wrong. We should embrace being the party of working class, average Americans. I think that's what we need to do because the Democrats have been living on that mantra for decades and they haven't delivered on any of it. And voters are starting to see that now. That's why you're seeing polls where Trump is doing really well. They love Trump. They don't necessarily trust Republicans. They have a lot of reason not to trust Republicans. I want to give them a reason to do it. I view this race as one of the most important in the country. If we are able to win this race, honestly, it'll be a shock to them all. They'll never see it coming. Well, might see it coming, but probably not.
3 minutes.
Yeah, they're going to do a lot of things, but when we win this, it's going to show them that America's had enough, and this is a new day. So